Got a new project up here. Nice big one for you. Got a nice little tow truck. Let's check it out. Let's take a nice shot down there. How about this side? See, right there is a support. Right there, right there. Turned up missing. And we got that. And that. And that. Wonderful stuff. Anyway, so what we're doing here is we're going to replace the whole bed. Taking out the floor, side rails. We're going to leave the headache rack. Maybe leave this back section. I'm not really sure yet. But that piece, this steel over here, got new sheets of steel, new supports. We're going to rip this whole thing off and we're going to make it a whole lot sturdier. So let's get started. Our first plan is to cut off this rail, torch that off, and from there we can take the Milwaukee metal circular saw and just run it right down here, and from there we can just start cutting all the supports and get the metal up. Once we get the metal up, we can get underneath and actually get a good look at all the supports. I know there's a few other little things that need to be fixed, such as that hydraulic cylinder. So it's supposed to be up like that one, but you can see the mount is broken, so they strapped it to the lift back there. So that needs to be addressed, amongst the piece of steel here that's completely rotted out for the hydraulic system for the levers. So yeah, fun stuff. And then we're going to do I'm not making them, but we're going to do some nice boxes on there that are a little more stylish, make the truck look a little nicer. And last thing we got to do is replace this foot, so when you raise the bed down, this hits on the ground and keeps the back end from squatting so far when you're picking up a load. So if you can see, that one over there is squished, this one's squished, and the one over there is actually kind of non-existent once you get so far. So we're gonna take all those off, replace them all, redo the bed. The only thing that we're going to keep is the headache rack and possibly this back end, because this back end is pretty sturdy actually, but we'll see what happens. I just want to make it look nice. So let me get you set up on tripod. I need to start cutting off this this rail. Once I get this rail cut off, it'll be nice and flat. We can run the circular saw down. So let's get started. All right, so this is cut pretty good. We used the Milwaukee saw, and we're going to run the saw right up the strip to get this end piece off. Not really sure where I'm going to start or how I'm going to start, because these saws are not good for plunge cutting, so you can't just go in the metal like that and then start going like you could with a wood saw. It doesn't really work out that well. So my only other option would be to I'm just going to cut up in here and cut up in here and take this piece out, and then I can go this way down the bed. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So here it is. Side is gone. You can see underneath. So these are pretty solid until you get down to here. And you can see there's just none there. And then they get solid again. So I think my plan is to take C-channel and go down so the metal will rest on top of the C-channel and there's not a belly in here for water to sit into, because that seems to be the underlying factor of the rust problem, especially right over the wheels. So we just gotta figure out what to do with this, because it's kind of thick steel and it's already in there pretty good. The only thing I don't like is this top piece. Doesn't look that great, but we'll see. All right, so we're back on the tow truck and the bed has been completely removed. All the way down to this piece, which I'm actually not going to remove just because of the way that it's welded and formed in there. I don't want to have to rebuild any of that, and it's actually really solid right here. This whole piece is actually super solid. The biggest issue I had was the underside of this is what rubs on the ground when the bed is down, so there's like a little bit of chafing under here, but luckily the way I have to rebuild the bed, I was able to cut the end off that was messed up, and the new bed should line right up to it. So what I had to do here is, once I took all these pieces off, these are all 2-inch high pieces. They were formed steel, formed from the factory, so it's like a custom bend. So what I'm doing is that I'm replacing the supports with a 4-inch C-channel, which is only 1.5 inches versus the 2-inch that the original pieces were. So with that, I had to make a couple adjustments, such as this is 2 inches high from that, but I'm only using 1.5 inch square tube on here, which will be the same height as the 4-inch C-channel. So as the metal's laying across, metal will be able to rest right on here and weld it, instead of, if I put a 2-inch piece here, then I'd have to butt the metal up to the 2-inch, and then I'd have to do like a continuous weld all the way down, and that's kind of unnecessary. So if I use the 1.5, the new sheet steel will be right on top of here, and I can just do spot welds all the way down. One of the other things, since I haven't worked on tow truck beds quite like this, one of the other things I didn't know is the hydraulic ram that slides the bed back is actually welded up underneath the bed. So once I got the nut off of here, there's like a big contraption that's welded in here that goes all the way back and meets up right in there somewhere, and that's welded to the cross members. So I had to cut all that off and re-weld it. So that's actually the piece that goes on there. It actually mounts like this, or that bolts in, and then that was the piece of steel that was welded to the bottom of all the cross members. I just got to finish cutting that off. So I need to start cleaning this up so I can get these pieces welded on. Okay, so it appears that GoPro does not like the heat, and I did not get a lot of video of me putting more of this truck bed together. So currently, as we stand, the side rails have been put on, and there's a sheet of metal. It's laying there, it's not welded on yet, but all the back rails are on, and this rail I've welded on is for the hydraulic cylinder that pushes the bed in and out. So here's the ends of the bed, come down to a nice point. There will be a piece of 3/8 metal that goes across, and then they'll have the sheet steel going up to it. So I will say that this was quite the headache to do, only because this piece right here, this beam, was highly tweaked. So I literally had the Porta Power pushing that out, and I had pry bars to straighten it out a little bit. And every one of these was clamped on this side. It was clamped over here, and then one over here on both sides. So there's 4 clamps per piece. And then as these were going on, I made a little jig that went under here, and I'll show you it this way. So when I put these on, I had a jig that went under here and then a piece that went under here, and I would clamp this whole thing down so this piece would sit in the exact position it needed to be, and then I'd throw a weld in there and take the clamp off and weld the other side. So I had to do that for each one of these and each one on that side. So unfortunately the camera did not get any of that because it turned off because of the heat, and I did not realize. So at the moment, this is the current status of the truck. I'm pretty happy to say that this bed is very straight, and all the rails down here, you can't really see them because of the camera angle, but they're all completely level all the way across. So here's the latest piece of steel on here. All the seams are going to get welded, all that seam and this whole seam all the way up and all the way over. Each piece is going to be fully welded, which I approximate to be about 80 feet of welding. So we'll get that. These will get notched. This has to get welded here. I got to take this headache rack off. I got to lift that up with the hoist and then weld in between here, and the same on that side. So as you can see, I was doing stitch welds across the front of the truck, and all down we're going to weld all the seams, and then all the seams all the way across. So this is 2 sheets, and then somewhere back in this area, so that's the back, that's the front, so the middle of the bed is right around here somewhere. We're going to install either double banjos, which if you're not familiar with terminology, that is called a banjo. Normally it's like kind of more circle-ish with that piece sticking out. You can drop the chain in there and then lock it in place. So they only have a banjo two up front, and then there will be one right where the hole is. So we're thinking about putting another one up in here somewhere for extra tie down space. matching line yet. Further back. So if you've been following my Instagram, then you saw my posts about the metal plates that I kind of got. So here they are. So as you can see, they're fairly thick, and the edges are, looks like they're like laser cut out, some kind of CNC, but the edges are pretty sharp. So what I literally got, and I'm not going to name the company that did it, but what I got was a box this size with a piece of packaging in there and no plates. So I can see what happened, because like this edge of the box was like all torn up. So these things are sharp, and they're not wrapped in, they're not like in plastic. So this time I got them, these plates are all wrapped in plastic. There was a ton of packaging around them, and this box was in a bigger box with packaging around it. So it's like they kind of like got the hint, like, so they actually told me that they had a lot of problems with UPS losing their packages, or the packages coming empty. And I did mention to the lady that, you know, maybe if they changed their packaging, that wouldn't be an issue, because the packaging that I got from them was very subpar. To throw 2 metal plates in with a piece of crunched up paper and call that packaging. And these plates are heavy. They probably weigh, I don't know, probably 8 pounds a piece. I don't know, they're 3/8 thick steel. So anyway, so these are the plates, and these are you put your chains in there and you slide them over and it locks the chain in place. So this needs to get welded down in here, and then when I put the sheet on, I got to cut the sheet out around that. So yeah, that's about what it is. So let's get to work. So sorry I wasn't able to get better footage. If this video doesn't seem super great with showing details and such. I do ask if you have any questions about the bed, feel free to email me at formidablepfab@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to answer any questions about the materials I used or how I built it, so on and so forth. But really, this project ended up being a lot longer than I expected. Took a lot more effort and a lot more time involved than I originally planned. So this project ended up being something I was doing in between other projects. So unfortunately, I didn't get to film everything that I wanted to. But hopefully, this at least got to show you my process in bed building and the time and detail that it takes to do a decent job. So do a quick walk through the bed. So that's all 1/8 inch plate steel. All the seams are welded all the way across, all the way up. I did put in the banjo eye chain holders, which are welded to the frame here, down here, and then just welded to the plate on top. This edge back here, I tried to replicate like the manufacturer did, where it was like a thick rounded edge. So I took the bottom piece of steel and the top piece of steel and meshed it in between a piece of 3/8 flat bar, filled it in with weld, and attempted to grind it. It's pretty smooth, but it's still a little wobbly down in that area, but it looks pretty good. It's about the best I could do without having a huge press, because I think what I'd have to do is get the metal to bend like this and then put it on and then weld it. That'd be the only way to get a nice smooth edge on it. But for homemade, it's not too bad. And then we did put the double banjo eyes in the middle of the bed. It's about the middle, so they can hook to here or use this little bolt hole, which is great if you're hauling toolboxes or like motorcycles or something like that. And we did replace this piece of steel up here. It originally just took that area, but I cut it off and moved it up to that area, smoothed it out a little bit, and you can see my wonderful paint lines up there. But the customer said they're going to take this, sand it all down, repaint the whole thing, so it's to look really nice when it's done. So there it is in a wrap. Everything is done. All new cross bracing up there. That's 4-inch C-channel. And then we also replaced the lights, and we left this open one here, right there. They're going to put some amber strobes in for themselves. Once again, we did another bar on the bottom for stabilization when the deck is down. So all in all, that's a wrap on the tow truck. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Please like, comment. If you have any questions, once again, my email, formidablepfab@gmail.com. So now that I've done this one, I've become notorious for doing tow truck beds. So we'll have some more tow truck beds coming up here shortly. So I'll see you on the next one.